Veterans Business Journey is made possible in part by the American Legion Department of Arizona, Veterans Serving Our Communities, the Ernest W. McFarland Foundation, and the West Valley Foundation, celebrating diversity. A celebrated historical moment, the signing of the Servicemen's Readjustment Act of 1944, the GI Bill. Historians have long considered the GI Bill a congressional landmark that helped transform the lives of millions of veterans and the nation.
I went to school, they sent me to school, dry cleaning school, tailor, and my whole future was paid many times forward.
The people back in the 40s who actually put this idea together, they obviously had some foresight that this was going to become a giant need with veterans over the years.
It's an opportunity to reintegrate into civilian life, to continue to make a difference in the community and in the land that we love through education.
I believe Ernest McFarland was the father of the modern day GI Bill. The impact that it had on America was phenomenal.
Ernest W. McFarland was born in a log cabin on the family's farm in Oklahoma in 1894. After high school, he earned a teaching certificate. Like thousands of Americans, he enlisted in the Navy, and while in basic training, he became ill.
World War I, Mac heard the call and answered the call and joined the United States Navy. He contracted pneumonia and he ended up in the hospital, the Navy hospital. He came so close to death, they called his mother in, but somehow, miraculously, he survived, and they discharged him honorably.
He was in World War I, but he never went overseas. Of the long time, 400 days that he spent in the Navy, 320 of them were spent in the hospital. So he had that perspective of active duty service. When he got out of the Navy in 1919, he still had ongoing health issues. That caused him to move from Oklahoma to Arizona.
With a few dollars in his pocket, McFarland began a new life in Florence, Arizona. And during 6 decades of public service, Mac would become one of Arizona's most gifted statesmen. His achievements were unheard of. He became a United States Senator, a Senate Majority Leader, Governor, and Chief Justice of the Arizona Supreme Court. Author Gary Stewart says Mac came here as a veteran, lived as a veteran, and was focused on solving problems. During his research for his new book, Call Him Mac, Stewart discovered that Mac endured great hardships in his personal life, but kept those issues to himself.
Is that when he was in his mid-30s, he had been married for 3 years to a wonderful, beautiful, talented teacher in Florence. They had 3 children, and in a 22-month span, she died and all the kids died. And you would think, because then he was a judge, he was a public official, you would think that there would be information everywhere.
McFarland soldiered on after losing his family, expanding his knowledge of water issues and pursuing his political career. He remarried in 1939 to Edna Smith, a teacher at Florence High School, with whom he had a daughter, Jewel.
How did Mac become Mac? That's what was my focus. And so what I ultimately discovered was what I was kind of hoping I would, was pretty sure that I would not. I found a love story. Mac loved where he lived, and he loved the people that lived there. And he stayed with them. And when he was in Florence, he loved the people of Florence. When he was in Phoenix, he loved the people in Phoenix. When he was in D.C., his closest associates were almost always politicians or families of politicians. And so that's the love story. It's the love of what I can do for everybody else when others have tried, and many have succeeded.
McFarland was a proud Navy veteran. He never made it to the battlefield. His battles were fought in Washington, D.C. As a U.S. Senator and Senate Majority Leader, he sponsored over 40 bills to help World War II veterans. His effort earned him the distinction as the father of the GI Bill. The senator shared the accolades with Warren Atherton and Harry Colmery of the American Legion. Colmery drafted the essence of what would become the Servicemen's Readjustment Act while at the Mayflower Hotel in D.C.
Through the time that he was there, I don't know how long that took him to do this, but he picked up a piece of stationery from that hotel. And when he left that hotel on about, I want to say about, 8 or 9 sheets of paper, he had written the basis for what we know as the GI Bill.
Senator McFarland's greatest contribution was the drafting of the portions of the GI Bill that gave veterans access to education, home and business loans. He saw a need to help World War II veterans avoid the hardships endured by returning World War I veterans.
And so they're being forced out of their shacks by smoke bombs and tear gas hurled by the troops who have been called out by the President of the United States.
This bonus army was eventually driven out by U.S. troops under the command of General Douglas MacArthur.
He saw what happened to the World War I veterans as they came back at Anacostia Flats. And they did not receive their benefits, and they were ejected out of a camp, and Mac felt badly about that. And we were in World War II at the time, and he said, you know, that's what these World War II veterans are going to come home to.
What was most important in his mind was what happened, what he saw veterans returning from World War I, selling apples on streets, not having jobs, not having a way to get back into education, losing parts of their families because of the destruction that went on with their bodies and their minds in World War I. And he never forgot that.
The GI Bill helped improve the lives of nearly 50 million ex-servicemen and women, along with millions of their dependents. It's one of the ways our country says thank you to the men and women who were willing to sacrifice everything to defend our rights and freedoms. The public service career of Navy veteran Ernest McFarland reflects his dedication to improving the quality of life in Arizona and the nation. Some of his major contributions during his decades of service include working on the Central Arizona Project, the founding of the Arizona State Park System in 1957, the creation of the Arizona Television Company and KTV Channel 3, and in 1974, he purchased the Florence Courthouse. It's now the centerpiece of the McFarland State Historic Park.
It was an era of optimism, and I would say that one of the things that contributed to that optimism of our nation was the fact that there was hope for growth and peace after World War II, and the GI Bill contributed to that.
The remarkable journey of Ernest W. McFarland is the basis for a memorial at the Wesley Boland Memorial Plaza that honors his family, his work, and optimism for the future. The monument's architects embraced Mac's legacy of helping others.
The theme that we chose and that followed throughout McFarland's life was growth. And he was a farmer, and he was also an educator. So he saw a lot of the value in making things grow and letting his work help others along the way.
So what we did was use the American dream as the commonality between Mac and anybody there today. And so in putting it together, we wanted to tie our monument visually to the USS Arizona. And so we created a modernist triumphal arch to Mac, so that we have a surprise at the end of your path through the monument, that when you get to a certain alignment, you then look through the archway, and there is the American flag, symbolizing the American dream of the USS Arizona sacrifice.
The McFarland Memorial at Wesley Boland Plaza is a thank you to a veteran who fought his battle back in Washington, D.C., a political battle, in order to say thank you to the veterans who served our country, and to give them a better life, and give their families a better life, and to make the United States a better country.
You're watching the Veterans Business Journey, where we celebrate the achievements of veterans. Would you like to share your story? Drop us a note at vetsbizjourney@gmail.com.
The American Legion. We're a powerful force for the nation. We're the largest veteran service organization in the nation, with 2.5 million members. And when you add to that the American Legion Auxiliary and the Sons of the American Legion, we have a family of 4 million members, working hard every day for our veterans, our youth, and our communities. Go to legion.org to find out more about the American Legion's commitment of service to America.
Today, more than ever before, women are on the front lines of America's defense. These brave women struggle and sacrifice to help keep our country secure. They deserve to be recognized for their service as guardians of freedom. Please support the American Legion's efforts to serve the growing number of women veterans. Go to legion.org/honor veterans to find out how you can help.
I'm a veteran. We hit a mine in Vietnam. When I came home, I didn't know where to turn.
As America's veterans face challenges, DAV is there.
My victory's been never giving up hope. My wife is always there to remind me we have a life to live.
DAV provides a lifetime of support, helping veterans of every generation get the benefits they've earned.
I am a veteran, but after I got out, I spent 2 years alone and homeless.
Every year, DAV helps more than 1 million veterans so they can reach victories great and small.
My victory was finding the support to get back on my feet. Now I'm getting things right with my family.
I finally admitted, with my PTSD, I wasn't doing well.
But there's more to be done, and more victories to be won.
Now I wish I'd found DAV sooner. I am a veteran. My victory is just enjoying each day.
Help support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
I'd like to take a moment and thank everyone who brought today's event together. For us, it's a commitment to the community we serve and to honor our veterans. Our veterans give so much to our country, and we are the great nation we are because of our veterans. And what a small way to say thank you, what a small way to give back, and we are honored. This event is incredibly important because it's an opportunity to have all your services handled in one day. I mean, if you need MVD, if you need the courts, if you need as simple as a haircut, if you are looking for a job,
Every service that we could possibly think of is right here, and it's all to get our veterans up and on their feet and moving forward. So it's just an incredibly special event.
Transitioning out of the military into the public sector can be extremely difficult. The camaraderie that we have in the military is unbelievable, and then when you come out into the public sector, a lot of the times it's what's about me. How can I make myself better and make myself look good instead of making the team look good? And we really need to focus on all of us and getting us all back out here working together as a society. This is the 6th time we've done this event, and the whole premise behind this event is not to get people just to the level of making it through the day, but to actually get them employed, get them services, get them jobs to where they can actually get back on their feet, get apartments, get vehicles, get driver's license, get their court issues taken care of if that's an issue, and then get them back into the employment world and get them back out there in society as a productive member.
We're saying that we will never forget. We're also saying that there is truth and help out there, and that even if you've had a bad experience, we hope to turn that experience around to a good one through our stand-up and give you the opportunity to move forward in your life in a good way.
Well, the message is mainly that there are people that care. There are resources that are available for our vets and their families, and they should be able to take advantage of all these resources so that they can maybe one day pass it forward or pay it forward and help out another veteran.
The last several years there has been a swing towards supporting veterans much more than there was, like for instance when you and I came back from Vietnam, that wasn't that way. And facilities like this, when Glendale Community College puts this thing together, I think that just shows the entire community how supportive we are becoming of veterans.
Why is it that we must be more supportive?
Well, without veterans you wouldn't have a college. You wouldn't have a home to go to at night. Who knows what kind of country we'd live in without veterans to protect it.
We have 39,000 members in the American Legion Department of Arizona. I'm very proud to be serving each and every one of those members. It's important to me to maintain the advocacy, which is part of what we do, to make sure that our veterans are taken care of, to make sure that our healthcare system is fully staffed. We can only do that through the numbers, and we can only do that as advocates for our veterans. And this is done, obviously, in the halls of Congress. Now, we have representation there, not only from the department level, but we also have representation through the national level. And so we, as American Legion Post members, have the responsibility to come up with resolutions that address those issues about our veterans and the healthcare needs and some of the things that have gone wrong with the healthcare situation, especially the one in Phoenix here. So we address those problems. Those are very important to us, and it's very important as veterans that we care for other veterans, whether they're in the service right now, out of the service. These are the issues that are important to the American Legion. Of course, there's other issues, such as taking care of our children. Our youth programs are one of the best programs, I think, overall, I think, and there's a lot of veteran service organizations that offer the legislative type of advocacy. I ended up joining the United States Army, regular Army, in 1967, in February of '67, with the hopes of becoming maybe a helicopter pilot at one time. Obviously, you began by going to basic training, which I did at Fort Bliss, Texas. Then we went to AIT training to learn about being a helicopter mechanic, and that was in Virginia. Well, after about 4 months of training there, we ended up in Fort Riley, Kansas, right outside Junction City, as I remember correctly. And so there is where we trained not only to be a mechanic and utilize the skills that we learned in Virginia, but we also learned how to use an M60 machine gun, which are mounted on the sides of gunships. At that time, we were flying the UH-1 Huey aircraft, helicopter, and we would train several days a week on how to utilize that weapon. And of course, we would also maintain the chopper to make sure it was in good condition, in flying condition. Well, it was about 3 months later that our company, the 292nd Assault Helicopter Company, received its orders to go ship out to Vietnam. Well, the forward team went along with the aircraft, and all the maintenance guys and the crew chiefs and the door gunners, we were then given orders to also join up with the other team that had previously left a couple of weeks before, and ended up getting a couple of days to visit home before we shipped out of Fort Ore, where we would eventually, begin our journey to Nam. Well, upon getting home, I flew home, and a friend of mine picked me up, and he took me over to my parents' residence. Well, unfortunately, my parents weren't there, but as I approached the front door, I noticed there was a notice on the door. And what the notice said, it was from the Department of Defense, notifying me that my brother Filberto Aguirre Jr. was killed in action in October 27th of 1967. So approximately 30 days later, I was given an opportunity to not go to Vietnam if I chose not to. And of course, my parents did not want me to go to Vietnam, and you could understand why. I chose to go to Korea. I had a choice between Germany and Korea. So I eventually ended up in Korea, and the good thing about Korea was that I had an opportunity to continue working on choppers, which I loved to do at the time. I was kind of mechanically inclined. I also had an opportunity to become a crew chief on one of these UH-1's helicopters. And of course, the company was a 377th Air Ambulance Company out of Korea, based in Ascom, Korea. Not too far from 121 Hospital, which was the main hospital in Korea. So anyway, I enjoyed doing that. I had an opportunity also to go to Warrant Officer School. I was recommended by this company commander. I ended up not going to a school because I had an offer back home in Tucson, where I was born and raised, to join the police department. And so I eventually did go back to Tucson, and I did eventually become a police officer there.
I wanted to be in the military since I was a kid.
I served in the United States Air Force.
I served a total of 16 years.
I was deployed 13 times.
On my second deployment, 4 bombs hit my vehicle.
And at 19 years old, that's the first time I ever saw somebody die.
Coming back, I was raging.
I started having pretty horrible nightmares.
I would wake up in the middle of the night, sweats.
I started drinking a lot.
I felt worthless.
I guess I never recognized it in myself.
Eventually, one day I just walked into the VA hospital and said I'd like to see somebody.
don't suffer alone. You got to find that link with somebody that'll make you let it go.
It all starts with going to the VA. There's a whole community of veterans that just want to help you out.
It's for the guys who couldn't come back, so you owe it to them to live well, because they're not here with their families.
I'm a veteran. We hit a mine in Vietnam. When I came home, I didn't know where to turn.
As America's veterans face challenges, DAV is there.
My victory's been never giving up hope. My wife is always there to remind me we have a life to live.
DAV provides a lifetime of support, helping veterans of every generation get the benefits they've earned.
I am a veteran, but after I got out, I spent 2 years alone and homeless.
Every year, DAV helps more than 1 million veterans so they can reach victories great and small.
My victory was finding the support to get back on my feet. Now I'm getting things right with my family.
I finally admitted, with my PTSD, I wasn't doing well.
But there's more to be done, and more victories to be won.
Now I wish I'd found DAV sooner. I am a veteran. My victory is just enjoying each day.
Help support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
My name is Daniel Flores, and words of encouragement are selfless service and sacrifice continues after service. So let's help out our other veterans as well.
My words of encouragement are the whole country needs to step up and make sure that we're doing the right thing to support our Iraq and Afghanistan veterans. We have many of them coming out of the military, and they need all the help and support that we can give them. They've earned it.
My name's Don Bergeron. I'm the commander of District 11, past commander of Post 134. And my words of encouragement to young folks nowadays is my military service served me very, very well while I was in the military and afterwards. I made good use of the GI Bill. I got a 4-year college degree out of it.
My words of encouragement entail perseverance. Persevere, no matter what the task, no matter what the challenge. I think mostly if you're persistent and you persevere, you will be successful.
You're watching the Veterans Business Journey, where we celebrate the achievements of veterans. Would you like to share your story? Drop us a note at vetsbizjourney@gmail.com.